Good morning, everybody. My name is Jarrett Wilkins, and this is the Forever Family Walk. It is a social media-based 30-state walk raising awareness for kids in foster care and at-risk youth. And today is the 3-year anniversary. Happy anniversary. The walk initially started it's August 27th, 2015, out of Virginia, on the Virginia Beach coastline, and so initially I was going to try and have an interview scheduled for today, but since that wasn't able to happen, we're just going to go about my regular day, and I may be a little late, allegedly, but I'm not on time. So we're in Dallas, Texas now. It started in Virginia in 2015. We walked across the country to California, and then headed back through the southern states to Oklahoma City, and then we came down to Dallas. While in Dallas, since we last talked, I've been doing a reintegration leg, documenting what it's like for someone to go from the streets to society, reintegrating back in without a physical address. The goal was to get into an apartment and to have a job and show that it can be done, and we achieved that. Actually, we're in my apartment now. I can give you a quick tour. Let's see. So that's the front door. When you walk in, front door. You walk in. It's small. It's an efficiency. Little kitchen. Everything's included. Everything that you see, or practically everything that you see, has been donated. Let's see. It's got a closet. Out of the closet, I actually made sure I'm completely wardrobed up. Bathroom. And the backpacks for the future. Unfortunately, Wilson is no longer with us. That happened when I got here, but since the last time I saw you guys, let's see, I'm going to try not to say a lot. So last time I saw you guys, we were in Denver, and we were just starting the reintegration leg. So we went through Albuquerque, New Mexico. We stayed there, and we started to work on healthcare, food stamps, and I didn't really go for financial assistance, but we definitely did working on getting a job. We got the job, we started getting food stamps, started getting medical benefits, but Albuquerque, New Mexico isn't necessarily the safest place in the world, so we took a little break. There were a couple places that we had to stop off to kind of clear our heads and get ready for this, and then we came to Dallas. Give me a second, I need to make sure the keys are on. This phone is going to stay. Sunglasses, essential, all the time, everywhere. Okay, and then we came here. We pretty much lived on the street. We went back to New York briefly when my friend passed, and when I came back, I made sure that this was done in the most legit fashion that it could be done in. So while we're on the street, we started, in order to access the healthcare, you can't even get your library card here without an address or a proof of address or an ID and a bill, none of which I was even close to being near. So in order to get healthcare moved from New Mexico to here, I needed to start staying in homeless shelters to build up some sort of I wouldn't say residency, but you have to show that somebody is actually providing services for you to be able to live off of. So the Salvation Army did that. And then we went to the local LGBT resource center to find out what kind of services were available for the LGBT community. And they were nice. They piggybacked me in to the local food pantry, in which case I actually had the decision there where I had to choose so I went to the food pantry and they gave me 2 weeks worth of food. But in order to go back to the Salvation Army to stay in the overnight shelter, they go through your bags and you have to throw out all the food that you're bringing on property. So I had to decide if I if I wanted to eat or if I wanted to make sure my health care got through. That kind of sucked. But I chose to eat. And in doing so, I was out on the street again. And so I was job hunting. Fortunately, the director of the food pantry was nice enough. He would let me leave my backpack in his office while I went and handed out resumes. And then that was in October. And then in November, I applied. Well, Whole Foods had a national hiring day. And they were hiring like 3,000 people across the country on the spot. So I walked in. Just before that, Wilson, who you all may or may not know, my traveling companion, my backpack, he was stolen off of a private property. And in it included pretty much all my clothes and my grandfather's dog tags. So I was starting off, ironically, from the beginning with nothing. And so, fortunately, a local consignment shop called Out of the Closet. I bought a $1 shirt and a $1 pair of jeans. And I went to this job interview. And I got a job while I was living on the streets. And I kept that under locks. It was weird. I've never been in a situation like that where you're in the public, but you can't be. I had been so used to being criticized and ostracized, and you've seen me kicked out of malls, you've seen me kicked out of libraries, you've seen me kicked out of fast food places, movie theaters, just because of the size of my backpack, which was bright orange, and my shirts are normally light colors, so it doesn't appear that I'm any sort of it doesn't look like I'm questionable, you know. I try and keep it clean, and most of my shirts were organizations' brand names. And so the route of the walk is determined by organizations that agree to meet with me, and I interview them on a standard set of 10 questions regarding the work that they do for the community and the services they provide to at-risk family and at-risk youths. We've interviewed human trafficking agencies, LGBT resource centers. We've interviewed foster and adoption organizations and homeless shelters and transgender resource centers. I'm trying to cover all the bases. I'd like to get alumni in here at some point, but where is that? Whole Foods. Yeah, so it was very interesting because the first day of Whole Foods, I realized that most of the people that are their customers are the people that would stare at me or ask me to leave with restaurants, bars. So, you know, in this position, I started to fear that I could possibly lose my job if it got out that I was a transient, which I hate that word because they're people. It's just what it is. So I was very quiet. I only told like 2 people. But it's hard. And it's hard when you reintegrate because people want to know who you are. And the story that comes behind who I am, you know, I don't know. 3 years in, who am I? I seem to be other people all the time. So I would tell stories every now and again what I do, but for the most time I just travel. And I ended up getting a second job. So now I have 2 jobs, and I'm still living on the streets through the winter in Dallas. And in January, I had enough money, and after pushing for about a full solid month, I found a local residence that you just saw, and finally got an apartment. And that's what I thought was the goal. And I didn't really think it clearly. I was trying to stay in the moment, and a lot of times during this, staying in the moment doesn't allow one to actually enjoy it. I was very blessed when I got in there because everybody wanted to be a part of it, and that's what this is all about, and that's the most important thing. And so by request, I set up a gift registry, and everything you saw in that apartment, even the television, except for the bed and a couple new pieces, were donated. The clothes I picked out because I don't think anybody could shop for my size. I'm like a tall kid. Actually, I'm probably shorter than most of your kids by now since this thing started. But I've been outside for 2.5 years, or crashing on couches, or sleeping in tents, or sleeping on benches, or under bushes, or in porta potties, and any place that I felt like I wouldn't get hurt, or this project wouldn't be damaged. And I didn't know how to do things. I didn't know my area of space became so wide and so I won't say uncomfortable, but I was more comfortable outside, But when I went through an organization called 1 in 10 in Phoenix, Arizona, the director, Nate, he told me a story about one of these kids and how he had moved into an assisted facility that they had helped him get into. And the one thing he said was that it felt so great to have a door to close, because then you're safe. And it's true. You are safe. It is very dangerous out here, and I think the danger lies in survival. You have to survive. And in surviving, people get hurt. And it's an unfortunate thing, but it is life, or how you choose to live it. And there's a close family outside. As far as it can go, but if there's one thing I've learned in all of this is sorry, we're in the flight pattern, so this is going to happen, is there's no way to be able to help anybody, or to do a reintegration, or to survive when you're not, from middle class to the 1%, without programs. And these programs are set up through funding. Now, with these programs, it's very important to know who you're targeting. And it's very important to use the funding. It's great to have fundraisers, and it's great to be able to add to a project, but it's very important to make sure that the target of that project is always monitored. There should be a lot more number one, within the foster care system, within the Department of Child and Family Services, the biggest problem and the biggest thing that needs to be addressed is, two things. First thing, seriously, is the low pay of social workers. You don't pay a social worker and you give them 3 people's amount of jobs. You've got 25-year-old kids that are willing to do this because they want to, that are done by 27. You've got kids that are being passed around because you can't retain somebody on such a low amount of income. You just can't. You have to fund these people. They are trying to help your family, for the most part. Now, the problem starts with the family. So if the family is identified as a problem, one of the programs has to be preventative care. And it's out there. it is being developed by a lot of these places. But the thing is, it's the smaller, independent organizations that are talking about it. And the trickle is that while the department and the state part of it can come in, they're not getting it funded. So you can give all of your social workers brand new iPhones. You can give them, touch screen monitors at their office. But that's not going to pay for their family. It's not going to pay for them for, the 15 kids that you gave them, or the families that you put on their roster. The CASAs are available to help at some point, but their minimum is like maybe 15 hours a month. You've got kids that spend 24 hours a day either in care or in a place where they should be taken out of. So it's funding. Get these social workers trained. The second thing is gender identification training. When these kids are going into care, these caseworkers who aren't getting paid enough, that are overstacked with kids, need to understand how these children identify. Out here on the streets, 43% of the homeless population identify as LGBT. Q, I, A, trans, post-op, pre-op, and they don't know where to go. And they don't know how to do it in a system that doesn't understand who they are because they're not being trained. Because it's not being funded. We'll start there. Happy anniversary. You can follow us on, Facebook at the Forever Family Walk, on Instagram under Forever Family Walk, on YouTube under the Forever Family Walk. I'm going to start posting more of these videos. And Twitter most times, but Twitter's kind of like a personal rant, but that's under my name. It's Jarrett Wilkins. And to the states that have been a part of this, and to all the organizations going through Virginia, I haven't done this in a while, Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Kansas. We'll get into the difference between privatization and separation of church and state in this next video, because you want to segregate, you're going to lose the ability to have available homes. Kansas, Utah, Nevada, California, Arizona, New Mexico, through the Panhandle, into Oklahoma City, into Dallas, Texas, 2018. What's 3 times 12? Whatever that number is, because I'm not good at math. That's how long we've been on this. I thank you all. I love you all for your support. Give a loved one a hug, and don't fear the homeless. Just be aware of them. We're all human. I'm on my way to the doctor now, because in order for me to keep alive and doing all this stuff, we have to be accounted for. And in being accounted for, it allows people to write grants, and those grants help in funding. Bam. Have a good one.